Tommy sat by his bedroom window every morning, watching the other kids run to catch the school bus. His wheelchair was positioned perfectly so he could see the street below. The 13-year-old boy pressed his face against the cool glass and imagined what it would feel like to sprint across the playground like his classmates. His accident happened 3 years ago when a drunk driver crashed into his family's car. Tommy's parents and sister walked away with minor injuries, but Tommy's spine was severely damaged. The doctors said he would never walk again. Those words still echoed in his mind every single day. Tommy's mother, Sarah, always tried to keep him positive. She would wheel him to the park and encourage him to play basketball from his chair or race other kids in wheelchairs. But Tommy's heart wasn't in those activities. All he wanted was to feel his feet touch the ground again and take just one step forward. His bedroom walls were covered with pictures of athletes and dancers. He had posters of soccer players mid-kick and basketball stars jumping high into the air. His favorite poster showed a marathon runner crossing the finish line with his arms raised in victory. Tommy would stare at that poster for hours, dreaming of the day he could cross his own finish line. At school, Tommy was known as the smart kid who always had a smile on his face. His teachers loved him because he worked harder than anyone else in his class. His friends included him in everything they could, but Tommy always felt like he was watching life happen instead of living it. During gym class, he would sit on the sidelines and cheer for his teammates. But inside his heart was breaking. The other students never made fun of Tommy. In fact, they admired his positive attitude and determination. But Tommy felt different from everyone else. He missed the simple things that others took for granted, like walking to the bathroom or climbing stairs to his old bedroom. His family had to move to a single-story house and install ramps everywhere. Tommy's father, Mike, worked extra hours to pay for physical therapy and experimental treatments. The family had tried everything the doctors suggested, but nothing had worked. Tommy's legs remained completely paralyzed from the waist down. Still, his parents never gave up hope, and neither did Tommy, even on his darkest days. Every night before bed, Tommy would transfer from his wheelchair to his bed and lie on his back staring at the ceiling. He would close his eyes and imagine walking through his house, running in his backyard and playing soccer with his friends. These dreams felt so real that sometimes he would wake up and try to get out of bed before remembering his reality. The local newspaper had written a story about Tommy's academic achievements and positive attitude after his accident. The article mentioned his dream of walking again and how he never stopped believing it was possible. Tommy didn't know it yet, but this newspaper article would soon change his life in ways he never imagined. One evening, Tommy's mother was reading him a bedtime story when she noticed tears in his eyes. He told her that he had been pretending to be happy for everyone else, but he was tired of being brave all the time. He admitted that he sometimes felt angry and sad about his situation. Sarah held her son tight and told him it was okay to feel upset sometimes, and that being sad didn't make him any less brave or strong. Captain James Richardson of the Royal Guard had just finished his morning duties at the palace when his assistant handed him the morning newspaper. James was known throughout the kingdom for his kindness and dedication to helping others. Even though he held one of the most important positions in the royal military, he always made time for people in need. As James flipped through the newspaper with his coffee, Tommy's story caught his attention immediately. The headline read, "Local boy dreams of walking despite wheelchair." James read every word of the article twice. Something about Tommy's determination and positive attitude reminded James of himself when he was younger. James had grown up in a poor family and faced many challenges as a child. His father left when he was young, and his mother worked 3 jobs to support him and his siblings. James remembered feeling hopeless many times, but he never gave up on his dreams. Through hard work and determination, he eventually joined the military and worked his way up to become a captain in the prestigious Royal Guard. The article mentioned that Tommy's family had tried many treatments and therapies, but nothing had worked. It also said that experimental procedures were too expensive for the family to afford. James folded the newspaper and made a decision that would change both his life and Tommy's life forever. That afternoon, James drove to Tommy's neighborhood in his personal car, not his official royal vehicle. He wanted to meet this brave young boy and see if there was anything he could do to help. James believed that when someone shows such courage and determination, others should step up to support them. When James knocked on the front door, Tommy's mother, Sarah, answered. She was surprised to see a tall uniformed officer standing on her doorstep. James introduced himself and explained that he had read about Tommy in the newspaper. He asked if he could meet Tommy and talk with the family about their situation. Sarah invited James inside, and her eyes filled with tears when she realized that this important man had taken time out of his day to visit her son. She called Tommy into the living room, and James was immediately impressed by the boy's bright smile and confident handshake. Tommy wasn't shy or embarrassed about his wheelchair at all. James sat down across from Tommy and told him that he had read his story in the newspaper. He said he was amazed by Tommy's positive attitude and determination to never give up on his dreams. Tommy's eyes lit up when he realized that someone so important had taken interest in his situation. The three of them talked for over an hour. James asked Tommy about his daily routine, his school, his friends, and most importantly, his dreams for the future. Tommy explained that he wanted to walk again more than anything else in the world, but he also talked about his goals to become a doctor someday, so he could help other people who were hurt. James was moved by Tommy's maturity and wisdom. Here was a 13-year-old boy who had faced incredible challenges but still wanted to dedicate his life to helping others. James knew he had to do something to help make Tommy's dreams come true. Before leaving that day, James promised Tommy and his family that he would research the best doctors and treatments available anywhere in the world. He said that sometimes miracles happen when good people work together to help someone who deserves a chance. Tommy's parents were overwhelmed by James's kindness and generosity. Captain James spent the next 2 weeks making phone calls and sending emails to medical experts around the world. He contacted neurologists, spine specialists, and rehabilitation centers in different countries. James used his connections and reputation to get information that most people would never be able to access. During his research, James discovered that there was a cutting-edge treatment center in Switzerland that specialized in spinal cord injuries. The facility had developed new techniques that combined surgery, stem cell therapy, and advanced rehabilitation methods. Several patients with similar injuries to Tommy had shown significant improvement, and some had even regained the ability to walk. The treatment was extremely expensive and would require Tommy to stay in Switzerland for at least 6 months. The total cost would be over $200,000, which was far more than Tommy's family could ever afford. Most insurance companies wouldn't cover experimental treatments like this one. James didn't let the cost discourage him. He believed that if there was even a small chance Tommy could walk again, they had to try. James began reaching out to wealthy friends, business leaders, and charitable organizations. He explained Tommy's situation and asked for their help in raising the money needed for the treatment. Meanwhile, James continued visiting Tommy and his family every few days. He brought Tommy books about medical breakthroughs and stories of people who had overcome impossible odds. Tommy looked forward to these visits more than anything else. Having someone believe in his dreams gave him new hope and energy. Tommy's parents were amazed by James's dedication to their son. They had never expected a stranger to care so much about their family's problems. Sarah often told her husband that James was like an angel who had appeared in their lives when they needed help the most. During one visit, James told Tommy about the treatment center in Switzerland. He explained that it wasn't guaranteed to work, but it offered the best chance Tommy had ever had to walk again. Tommy's eyes filled with tears of joy when he heard that there might be real hope for his future. James also explained that raising the money would take time and effort from many people. He asked Tommy to be patient and to keep working hard in his physical therapy and schoolwork. James believed that Tommy's positive attitude and determination would be important factors in his recovery if they could get him the treatment. The local newspaper decided to write a follow-up story about James's efforts to help Tommy. The article described how a Royal Guard captain had read about a local boy's dreams and decided to do everything in his power to help make those dreams come true. The story inspired many people in the community. After the second newspaper article was published, donations began coming in from unexpected places. Tommy's school organized fundraising events, local businesses held charity drives, and people from all over the country sent money to help with Tommy's treatment fund. Even children emptied their piggy banks to contribute whatever they could. James was amazed by the generosity and kindness of so many people. He realized that Tommy's story had touched hearts everywhere, and people wanted to be part of something good and meaningful. The fundraising campaign was bringing out the best in everyone who heard about Tommy's situation. Tommy felt overwhelmed by all the attention and support, but he also felt grateful beyond words. He couldn't believe that so many strangers cared about his dreams and were willing to help him. The boy who had felt so alone and different now felt surrounded by love and encouragement from people everywhere. 3 months after James first knocked on Tommy's door, the fundraising campaign had raised enough money for the Switzerland treatment. Local news stations picked up the story, and donations poured in from across the country. Corporate sponsors, celebrities, and thousands of ordinary people contributed to Tommy's fund. The day finally arrived when Tommy and his parents would travel to Switzerland for the experimental treatment. James took personal leave from his Royal Guard duties to accompany the family on this important journey. He had become like a big brother to Tommy and wanted to be there to support him through every step of the process. At the airport, dozens of Tommy's friends, teachers, and supporters came to wish him good luck. Tommy felt nervous and excited at the same time. He had dreamed of this moment for so long that it almost didn't feel real. His wheelchair was decorated with good luck messages and colorful ribbons from his classmates. The flight to Switzerland was Tommy's first time traveling outside his home country. James sat next to him and helped distract him from his nervousness by telling stories about his own adventures around the world. Tommy listened with wide eyes as James described different cultures, foods, and places he had visited during his military career. When they arrived at the medical center in Switzerland, Tommy was amazed by how modern and advanced everything looked. The facility was surrounded by beautiful mountains and had huge windows that let in natural light. The doctors and nurses spoke multiple languages and made Tommy feel welcome and comfortable right away. Dr. Elena Hoffman, the lead specialist, met with Tommy and his family on their first day. She explained the treatment process in simple terms that Tommy could understand. The procedure would involve surgery to repair damaged nerves, followed by stem cell injections to help his spinal cord heal, and then months of intensive physical therapy. Dr. Hoffman was honest about the risks and challenges involved. She told Tommy that the treatment didn't work for everyone, and even if it was successful, he would need to work harder than he had ever worked before. Tommy looked at James, who nodded encouragingly, and then told the doctor that he was ready to do whatever it took. The night before Tommy's surgery, James sat with him in his hospital room. Tommy admitted that he was scared about the operation and worried that it might not work. James told Tommy that being scared was normal, and that even the bravest soldiers felt fear before important battles. What mattered was facing that fear with courage and determination. James shared a story about his own childhood when he was afraid to try out for his school's soccer team because he thought he wasn't good enough. His mother had told him that regret from not trying would hurt much more than failing after giving his best effort. Tommy understood the message and felt braver knowing that even James had been afraid of important challenges. On the morning of the surgery, Tommy's entire medical team gathered around his bed to wish him good luck. James held Tommy's hand as the anesthesia began to take effect. The last thing Tommy saw before falling asleep was James's confident smile and thumbs-up gesture. The surgery lasted 8 hours. Tommy's parents and James waited anxiously in the hospital waiting room, drinking coffee and trying to stay positive. James led them in prayers and kept their spirits up by telling them stories about Tommy's courage and determination. When Dr. Hoffman finally emerged from the operating room, she had good news. The surgery had gone better than expected, and they had been able to repair more of the damaged nerve pathways than they had initially hoped. However, she reminded everyone that this was just the first step in a long journey toward recovery. Tommy woke up from surgery feeling groggy and confused. His parents and James were sitting beside his bed, and their relieved faces were the first things he saw. Dr. Hoffman explained that the operation had been successful, but now the real work would begin. Tommy would need several weeks to heal before starting his intensive rehabilitation program. During the recovery period, James stayed in Switzerland to be with Tommy and his family. He had used all his vacation time and taken unpaid leave because he believed this was the most important thing he could be doing. James helped Tommy with his daily exercises and kept his spirits up when the pain and frustration became overwhelming. The stem cell treatments began 3 weeks after the surgery. Tommy had to receive injections directly into his spinal cord area, which was uncomfortable, but not as painful as he had expected. Dr. Hoffman explained that the stem cells would hopefully help his damaged nerves grow back stronger and create new pathways for signals from his brain to reach his legs. After 6 weeks of healing, Tommy was finally ready to begin physical therapy. His therapist, Maria, was a cheerful woman who had helped many patients learn to walk again after spinal injuries. She explained that Tommy's journey would be different from everyone else's because each person's body responds uniquely to the treatment. On Tommy's first day in the therapy gym, Maria asked him to concentrate on trying to move his toes. Tommy focused all his energy and thought about wiggling his big toe on his right foot. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, Tommy felt a tiny tingling sensation in his foot. When he looked down, his big toe had moved just slightly. Tommy started crying tears of joy. He hadn't felt anything in his legs for 3 years, and now he could feel sensation returning. James was so excited that he picked Tommy up and spun him around in his wheelchair. Even Maria, who had seen many small victories like this, had tears in her eyes. The progress was slow but steady. Each day, Tommy could feel a little more sensation in his legs and move his toes slightly better. After 2 weeks of therapy, he could flex his feet up and down. Maria explained that his nerves were healing and reconnecting, which was exactly what they had hoped would happen. Tommy's parents took turns staying with him in Switzerland while the other parent returned home to work and take care of family responsibilities. James remained with Tommy throughout the entire process, becoming like a second father to the boy. Tommy's real father was grateful beyond words for James's dedication and sacrifice. The hardest part of therapy was learning to trust his legs again. Even as sensation returned, Tommy was afraid to put weight on his feet because he had been disappointed so many times before. Maria worked with him on mental exercises to overcome his fear and build confidence in his recovering body. 3 months into the therapy program, Tommy achieved another major milestone. He was able to stand up from his wheelchair with support from parallel bars. His legs shook and felt weak, but they were supporting his weight. Tommy stood for only 30 seconds, but it felt like the most amazing 30 seconds of his life. James called Tommy's father immediately to share the good news. When Tommy's dad heard that his son was standing, he broke down crying with happiness. The whole family had been waiting and praying for this moment for so long that it felt like a miracle was finally happening. Dr. Hoffman monitored Tommy's progress carefully and was pleased with how well his body was responding to the treatment. She told Tommy and James that his positive attitude and determination were definitely helping his recovery. Patients who believed in their healing often recovered faster and more completely than those who gave up hope. Tommy wrote letters to his friends and classmates back home, telling them about his progress and thanking them for their support. He drew pictures of himself standing and walking, even though he hadn't achieved walking yet. These drawings showed his faith that he would reach that goal eventually. 4 months into his treatment, Tommy took his first step. It happened on a Tuesday morning during his regular therapy session with Maria. Tommy was practicing standing exercises when Maria encouraged him to try shifting his weight from one foot to the other. As he moved his weight to his left foot, his right foot naturally lifted off the ground and moved forward. The step was small and wobbly, but it was a real step. Tommy looked down at his feet in amazement, then up at Maria, then over at James, who was watching from across the room. For a moment, everyone was silent, processing what had just happened. Then Tommy started laughing and crying at the same time. James rushed over and hugged Tommy while he was still standing between the parallel bars. Maria documented the moment carefully in Tommy's medical records, noting the exact time and circumstances of his first step. Dr. Hoffman was called immediately to witness Tommy's achievement and assess his progress. Over the next few weeks, Tommy practiced taking steps every day. Each step became a little stronger and more confident than the last. He graduated from parallel bars to using a walker, then to walking with crutches. James was there for every milestone, cheering Tommy on and helping him when he got tired or frustrated. The most emotional moment came when Tommy was able to walk across the entire therapy room without any assistance. He moved slowly and carefully, but his steps were steady and purposeful. When he reached the other side of the room, he turned around and walked back to where he started. James had recorded everything on his phone to share with Tommy's family back home. Tommy's parents flew back to Switzerland to witness their son's incredible progress in person. When Tommy's mother saw him walking toward her in the airport, she collapsed to her knees, sobbing with joy. Tommy walked into her arms and they hugged for several minutes while other travelers stopped to watch this beautiful reunion. Dr. Hoffman explained that Tommy's recovery was exceptional, but not complete. He would always need to be careful about certain activities, and he might experience fatigue or weakness in his legs during stressful times. However, she was confident that with continued therapy and exercise, Tommy could live a normal, active life. The medical team in Switzerland had documented Tommy's entire treatment and recovery process for medical research purposes. His case would help other doctors around the world understand how to better treat similar spinal cord injuries. Tommy felt proud knowing that his experience might help other children who were facing the same challenges he had overcome. James had to return to his Royal Guard duties, but he arranged for Tommy and his family to stay in Switzerland for 2 more weeks to complete their therapy program. During James's last day with Tommy, they walked together through the beautiful Swiss countryside. Tommy marveled at how different everything looked and felt now that he was experiencing it on his own 2 feet. Tommy thanked James for believing in him and for sacrificing so much to make his dreams come true. James told Tommy that helping him had been the most meaningful thing he had ever done in his life. He said that Tommy's courage and determination had inspired him to be a better person and had reminded him why it was important to help others whenever possible. The two had formed a bond that would last forever. James promised to visit Tommy regularly and to always be available whenever Tommy needed advice or support. Tommy promised to work hard in school and to never give up on his dreams of becoming a doctor, so he could help other people the way James had helped him. On their last night in Switzerland, Tommy's family and James had dinner together at a restaurant with a view of the mountains. Tommy stood up from his chair and proposed a toast to James, thanking him for giving him back his life and his dreams. Everyone in the restaurant applauded when they heard Tommy's speech about courage, friendship, and never giving up hope. Tommy's return home was nothing short of magical. The entire community had planned a surprise welcome celebration at the airport. When Tommy walked off the airplane on his own 2 feet, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. His friends from school held up banners and balloons, and the local newspaper photographer captured every moment of his triumphant return. The mayor presented Tommy with a key to the city and declared the day Tommy's Miracle Day in honor of his incredible journey and recovery. Tommy gave a short speech thanking everyone who had supported him and his family during their time of need. He spoke about the importance of never giving up on dreams and always helping others when possible. Back at school, Tommy became an inspiration to every student and teacher. He walked through the hallways that he had only seen from his wheelchair for 3 years. His first day back, he participated in gym class for the first time since his accident. He couldn't run or jump like his classmates yet, but he could walk and participate in modified activities. Tommy's teachers noticed that his positive attitude had become even stronger after his recovery. He helped other students with their problems and always encouraged classmates who were struggling with difficulties. Tommy had learned that everyone faces challenges in life, and the most important thing is how people support each other through tough times. James visited Tommy every month and watched him grow stronger and more confident. Tommy joined the school's soccer team as a manager and hoped to eventually play again as his strength improved. He also started a club at school to raise money for other children who needed expensive medical treatments, but couldn't afford them. 6 months after returning home, Tommy surprised everyone by completing a 5K charity walk to raise money for spinal cord injury research. He trained for weeks and walked the entire distance without stopping. James flew in specifically to walk beside Tommy and cross the finish line with him. The event raised over $50,000 for medical research. Tommy's dream of becoming a doctor grew stronger every day. He excelled in his science classes and volunteered at the local hospital on weekends. The doctors and nurses who worked with Tommy were amazed by his knowledge and compassion for patients. Many of them said he would make an excellent doctor someday. Dr. Hoffman stayed in touch with Tommy and his family through video calls and medical checkups. She used Tommy's case to give presentations at medical conferences around the world, sharing his story as an example of what was possible when cutting-edge medical treatment was combined with determination and support from caring people. The friendship between Tommy and James continued to grow stronger over the years. James attended Tommy's high school graduation, where Tommy was valedictorian and gave a speech about overcoming obstacles and helping others achieve their dreams. James was prouder of Tommy than he had ever been of any of his own accomplishments. Tommy received a full scholarship to study medicine at the country's top university. The scholarship was funded by donations from people who had followed his story and wanted to support his dream of becoming a doctor. On the day he left for college, James helped him pack his belongings and gave him a framed photo of them walking together in Switzerland. Years later, Dr. Tommy graduated medical school and specialized in treating spinal cord injuries. His first patient was a young girl who had been told she would never walk again after a skiing accident. Tommy sat beside her wheelchair and told her about his own journey from despair to hope to recovery. He promised her that miracles could happen when people refused to give up and worked together to help each other. The story of Tommy and James became legendary in their community and beyond. It was written into books, made into documentaries, and shared at schools and hospitals around the world. Their friendship showed that when one person chooses to care about another person's dreams, incredible things become possible. Tommy and James proved that kindness, determination, and hope could overcome even the most impossible challenges.